Hello, guitar heads, and welcome to the very first episode of Thursday Night Theory and Ear Training for Guitar. Okay, so tonight, the first thing we're going to do is the mother of all scales, the major scale. And we're going to do this in the key of G tonight. We may experiment with some other keys, but we're going to talk about position form, linear form, how that correlates to the piano keyboard, what that means to your ear, and how we can move that to different keys as we see fit. So first of all, let me just show you the G major scale. We're going to start on the G right here. We know that's G because it's the root note to our G chord. So, there, on the 6th string, 3rd fret, 5th, 7th, okay, same 3 frets on the 5th string, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 4th, that's on the 4th string and 4th fret, and 4th string, 5th fret. Now, if you need to stop the video for a minute and go over that a few times, go ahead. Do it ascending and then descending. So that's your major scale, and that's in G. Now, we can move that anywhere. Once you've learned that shape, you can move it wherever you want it. If we wanted to do it in B, we would just start at B. If we wanted to do it at C, alright? So now let's break it down. Let's talk about the guts in it. What's going on in there? Why does it have that iconic sound? And we know that solfege sound, that do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. But anywhere we put that, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. All right, so what's going on in there that gives it that sound every time? It's a series of intervals, okay? We always tend to think of scales when we're learning guitar. We're learning shapes, we're learning patterns. That's why a lot of guitar players play from memory, because we're looking at shapes and patterns and such. But any scale is more than that. It's a series of pitches that go up or down or whatever. So in this case, we're going to go with a series of whole steps and half steps. Now, what does that mean? For guitar, a half step is 1 fret. So if we start on G and move up 1 fret, we've ascended 1/2 step. Alright? So if we go 2 frets, then we've ascended a whole step. Okay? So there's a formula for a major scale, and it goes like this. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So if we start on G, that one doesn't count. That's 1. So we go whole, whole, half. Okay? And we're doing this in linear form now. We're going to do this scale in linear form. So root, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And see how it sounds final when we get to that note? It wouldn't sound that way if we stopped and then just left that. Doesn't sound finished until we go ahead and hit that octave. So that also correlates to the keyboard, and an easy way to remember that is to use a keyboard for an example. And so here's what happens on the keyboard versus the guitar. Now on a piano keyboard, you have groups of 3 black keys, groups of 2 black keys. 3, 2, all the way up and all the way down. You can easily find a C by finding a group of 2 black keys and coming immediately to the left. Now, C just happens to be the only major scale that has no sharps or flats in it. And the black keys are the sharps and flats. So this helps you remember your whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So if you start on C, a half step, on the guitar it's 1 fret. On the piano it's 1 key. So from here to here is a half step. So that would mean from here to here is a whole step. So root note, whole, whole, half, because you don't have a black key, whole, 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 and half again, because you don't have a black key here either. See how that has that same do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Has that same sound. So if you can visualize a piano keyboard and those black keys, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So we've been in G for most of this lesson, so let's just do it in G. So this is G on the piano. You can find a group of 3 black keys and 2 left center of that key. So G. So let's see if this works out. Whole, whole, half, whole, whole. Now we need a whole step here, but we don't have a black key. So a whole step is just, there's a half, there's another half. So we're going to go here, and then a half step finishes it at that G. So let's listen to that. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Has the sound, doesn't it? Sounds like a major scale. So that's how it correlates to piano with half steps and whole steps versus guitar. So now let's talk about the intervals, the distance between the notes, okay? If we have the root note here, that's the root note, that's home. If we're playing around in the major scale, that root note sounds like home. Or the octave, we can go there too. Sounds final either way when we land on that root note. Now, it's music, it's art, you don't always have to land on a root note when you're playing, but just train your ear to hear that that's the root note to this scale. Okay, so now naming the intervals is easy. You just count up the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or when we say 8, that's 1. That's where the term octave comes from. That's an octave. Okay. So this is this root. This is the second. This is the third. All right, and we're talking about intervals. So this is how far are they away from the root note. So this is a second. This is a third. This one would be a fourth. This would be a fifth. This would be a major sixth. This would be a major seventh. And then this is an octave. And that applies anywhere on the guitar. If we did this in the key of D right here. So that would still, if we were in the key of D, D would be the root. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh octave. So one cool thing to note about octaves is this. If we did the scale linear from an open position, and let's just go ahead and use the open E. Okay? So now the open string is the root note. So we come a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half. Look where that brought us. To the 12th fret. Now on your guitar you may have double dots there or something a little different about your inlays. This one's not so much. You can see I've got the double dots there. But there's a reason for that. It's that 12th fret. That's signifying that is an octave above your open string. Okay? And now we did the major scale to get there, but you could certainly do the minor. Okay, and we'll do that on another Thursday Night Theory, so stay tuned for that. But the point being, that's an octave. And you can do that on any string. We've been in G tonight, so we could use the G string. Okay? It's just all sorts of ways you can cinch it together. So let's stop right there for tonight, okay? And challenge yourself to listen to songs and see if you can pick out the major scale. Here's some cool things you can pick out in the major scale, like there's the King of the Hill theme. There's When the Saints Go Marching In. Right? Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So again, we're not thinking of the scale as just a shape that's ascending and descending like it's just some kind of mechanical thing. There's notes. There's notes that are involved in there. So that's how I want you to think of this major scale. So make sure you tune in for more of these Thursday Night Theories to come, because we're going to build on this. We're going to do it in several octaves. We're going to learn other scales, diminished scales, chord progressions, you name it. We're going to be learning it. So I'm going to leave you with that tonight. Challenge yourself to listen to songs and see if you can pick out the major scale, pick them out on guitar, and move it around to different keys and play around with it. So hopefully I will see you next week.